Great. Okay, welcome to our special meeting tonight, and we're here to discuss Maple Street Park meeting, the community engagement meeting that we had a few Mondays ago. And what I'd like to, the outcome I'd like to, I hopefully would like to see would be maybe to prioritize the themes that came out of that meeting. Most of, I mean, 6 out of the 9 members were at that meeting. So I think that with community comments and discussion themes, I kind of went through there and grouped them into various items, and the comments all centered around basically these 6 topics: field turf, lighting, parking, playgrounds, the walking path, and the sports court. So with those 6 topics in mind, I mean, we could have discussion, prioritize, and then have further discussion as to what we think is necessary, or what we'd like to see.
Stephanie needs equal corrections to her.
Yeah,
There's there's more poor wording and
What's that? Oh, and her, yeah.
thing with Carol.
well, I was gonna ask you to hear everyone's thoughts on this first.
True. Yeah, we have no, it's an informal, so, yeah, you got a thought? I know that you had one
Correction.
comment.
Yeah, that's, we can get that later.
Okay,
I just didn't know if everyone wanted to hear their opinion about this.
eventually I want to get to prioritizing, but if you have opinions beforehand, sure. Throw them out. Anybody with opinions?
I got one, but.
Go ahead.
Well, the list that you just gave us is about places and activities, things. I think what's missing in the picture is, have we given enough attention to the issue of safety? And there are so many areas of concern that have to do with safety, particularly if baseball, which has not been much upon our table here, but when we're introducing 2 ball fields into a general purpose community park, it seems to me that we can't rely solely on the vendors of the folks who want to have us have ballparks.
Well, those ball fields are already there.
What's that?
The ball fields are already there.
Yeah, I understand, but introducing two sort of much more elaborate fields. I mean, we're putting a lot of money in into upgrade of the ball fields, right?
Okay,
So I just want to call out the issue. The issues are not just about what we think about various places. I think there are issues about, are we sufficiently concerned about the safety of people who are here. I mean, we're talking about 2-year-olds who use splash pads all the way up to folks who play hardball in the sport of baseball. So I don't know if anybody else shares my concern. I do know that the word safety came up several times in the meeting. I didn't hear
well, the
it.
word safety came out in regards to traffic
Traffic
and lighting.
And foul balls.
and foul balls, and so I just don't want that issue to get buried, because the vendors who are giving us bids to do certain things have an interest of being paid for their work. And I'm sure that they are cognizant of the fact that we need safety, but I don't know if we've had any kind of general professional overview of whether or not introducing.
We put brand new netting and stuff in, when we put the splash pad to prevent anything from happening.
I know there are pieces. I just want to ask if there's been any professional consideration of I'm not saying don't do any of this stuff. I'm saying, let's do all this stuff, but let's have some professional analysis of the safety of introducing high-speed ball flying through the air along with little kids playing in the park along with traffic along the edge. So it's just an issue I don't want to get lost in the shuffle.
But I think I heard also during that meeting that the ages of the players are such that the balls don't go to a degree that it puts people in danger. I heard
The
that.
size of the field will restrict the age limit for the kids playing baseball.
Yes.
So they can't hit it as far as, we don't want, the big kids can hit a baseball into the homes. The little kids cannot, so it'll be basically about the same as softball, maybe a little bit further.
And I don't have any problem with that. I do have a problem with baseball and with the safety issues, it was baseball involved. That's a fast.
Well, it'll be it'll come out in our discussion. We're not
Okay.
going to just miss the safety aspect. of it.
There's some fencing in here or an additional, where's that gonna go if you, this 300 feet they're saying?
I think
That's one of the things that's on.
it's one of, I think they were talking about hitting the ball 300 feet.
Right.
And
Yes,
I think that got mixed up, Dave, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Where is that exact?
It's
Right
on-
here under extending the fence.
What page?
Extension of fence net for foul ball, it's, you know.
oh, that's down third baseline on the second
Is
field.
that what it-
Yeah, we went down further to protect the kids from the splash pad.
Okay, just one, so
Added
That might help
300 feet. down
Barbara
there.
feel a little more
Okay.
comfortable. It is one of the things in there.
Yeah, so that goes to yours, Barbara.
Well, looking at those items, and I
Oh.
think people are already talking about turf, to me. Then if they're talking about turf, I would say that turf would be the number one. Um,
Priority.
priority. Of what we're looking at to do at Maple Street Park. I would think turf would be the main goal.
Mhm.
So. With turf, I guess now is the time to discuss the pros and cons of, putting in turf. So. Is anybody besides Barbara's asked about is a safety concern and we recognize that. Does anybody have any, obviously the weather and it would be a pro now that. We'll go back to Friday at the McNary and the varsity baseball team were supposed to play at McNary. They couldn't play at McNary because they didn't have a turf field. They moved the games up here because our fields are turf. So during the course of the season with turf fields, we'd be able to have the little guys playing.
There's no rainouts.
There's no rainout, so they'd be able to play. So that is a,
This Friday, they played and it rained the whole game.
This
Yeah.
one rain.
Yeah.
That's not.
Lightning is lightning.
yes.
30-minute delay.
Yeah.
Not even sure if you're outfield then.
So as we're talking.
The high school is pretty good.
Well, I think, yeah, we can do pros and cons and go talk about turf. Does anybody have any pro feelings, ways that, what would be the pros, what are the cons? Okay, you're saying safety, a safety assessment.
Even the safety assessment. At the meeting. They said that it's safer than.
Well, and they mentioned it in here also. Steve Corey did mention it.
For me, the only con would be the maintenance.
Which I like.
It's dirt now, there's maintenance, but you can fix it in a weekend. Where the turf has to be raked after the games, they have to rake out the lines, they have to put stuff back in all the time.
Well, and after every game, if you
Yep.
have a tournament,
Yep.
then you've got to drag the fields,
Yep.
there's more maintenance involved to having a dirt field than there
Yes.
would be having a turf field. I know there might be some special, maintenance in the long run, but
Would the city have to buy any special equipment to take care of those fields? I don't know what it takes.
I have no idea either. We put people with rakes out there.
No.
I know that it was mentioned that when they played it, the people that played did maintenance on it when they were done, it would help the lifespan of it.
Before they did the old football field at the high school, that was turf, remember that got worn out?
But that was horrible.
Because they didn't maintain it like they should have. They had a machine go on there that swept the whole thing. When they got done, they had 350 pounds of bobby pins.
Oh, wow. And what do they do? What's the maintenance to it? Is it just turning over that black rubber that's in?
Well,
there?
you want, in turf, you have grass, it grows like this. The sand and the rubber keeps the blades upright. When they start laying down, that's when you get injured and that's when you're in trouble. Then you've
So it
lost.
just brings everything up. Okay.
Hey, Jeff, what's the 5 to 10 year outlook for the cost of maintenance for a turf field, including replacement, including usability, et cetera?
I think even in the best case scenario, you're gonna get maybe 10 years out of it. I believe it's not a controlled environment, so we're gonna have a hard time just keeping people off of it. I mean, so I don't even have an idea what we're gonna run into as far as what the public will introduce.
Is the physical replacement of the turfing that they're talking about? Is it prone to crack, breaking up and rippling and?
Yeah, I think like Scott was saying earlier, if you don't maintain it, we're gonna start having problems and like a carpet and.
But you're not gonna get the wear, I mean, the wear and tear isn't gonna be on that, you're talking the baselines, the batter's box, the pitching.
Baseline,
And if,
that can all be
and
replaced.
listening to Steve Corey. The batter's box, you don't have to replace the whole field, you can
Right.
replace it
Yeah, pieces.
pieces.
Did they provide a maintenance analysis?
Yes.
Did the vendor provide an analysis of maintenance costs through, say, 5 to 10 year?
We have not got that far yet.
Would you guys put something in place where you put a little money aside each year to build up a fund to pay for a new,
Extra
put down new field, you know, in 10 years?
100,000 and 10 years.
I mean, yeah, you almost need 100,000 a year.
Do they,
Could be the park
do you
maintenance.
get,
Yeah,
does softball pay to rent the fields now?
No, they do not.
Okay. I think once it's in, I think softball and baseball should pay to rent the field, just like the high school. They have, when they have a tournament, and there's 24 teams. They use Maple and they use the high school. They have to pay for the high school. I think it's $350 a field a day.
So.
And that's for your maintenance down the road.
Sure, we can do that. I don't know if we're gonna run into the recreational immunity portion of that, where if we start taking money for stuff, we're guaranteeing it's a safe environment. So
How about the co-ed slow pitch softball?
They pay,
They pay,
they pay Canby kids.
yes, but they're gonna have to do the same thing.
So after that public meeting, just as long as we're on the topic of baseball and hardball, I asked, I heard that there's no problem, they're all willing to share. I asked the softball guy, because he's had that facility for years now. He's like, I have both fields scheduled, I don't know, I'm supposed to break it in half and accomplish my same.
We are not gonna have split tournaments.
well, and we're not gonna be,
We're
that's
split
not.
use.
No, you're gonna have a softball tournament, and I'll fight Ryan to the day I die. You're
Okay,
gonna, because I've been on both boards, you're gonna have at the start of the year, you're gonna have softball get together, you're gonna have baseball get together. You guys figure out your path, you're having it one weekend, we're not gonna have baseball on this side and softball on this side, that's a nightmare.
And that's for them to decide, that isn't
Yeah.
for us to decide as
Yeah.
a parks.
We're deciding what they're playing.
We're deciding what we plan, we're here to talk about turf, whether we put it in or not. How they divvy it up, that's up to them.
he was coming at it from.
It says that it lasts for 8 to 10 years. At that time, a lot of times, once you've gotten something installed,
It's just a service.
it's cost way less to do the replacing it the next time. Is that the case here?
Should think so, because you're not having to excavate and do all the work.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Because like, right now, what's the estimated cost to install it?
500.
We're right at 500,000.
Yeah, and so, but we don't know in the 8 to 10 years when it needs to be redone, what that cost is gonna be.
Yeah, it depends on where is. If it's
Where-
just
where is.
Place in the home plate because it gets abused or.
Have we asked them to chart out what the expected maintenance is, and is that something?
We're trying to decide whether or not we want to put it in.
Yeah,
Well,
we
I
haven't
think
checked into
That's
that.
a part of the decision though, is how much, is it gonna pay off, or we have to be right, we're gonna be confident that we're going to.
Forward
To me, if it didn't pay off, all these schools would not be putting in turf fields.
They're in a controlled environment, correct? I
No,
mean,
anybody can go on the football field at the high school.
They're on their own mind.
That's what the hardest on these fields is football, because you have 22 players tearing it up. Lacrosse, same thing. Baseball and softball are near the wear. You have the pitcher's mound, home plate, and the base pass. That's it. Everything else can last a long time.
But the high school fields, people are out there all the
Oh,
time.
okay, yeah, I just noticed like the softball field off of,
They're out there, but they're not supposed to.
Really?
Yeah.
it's off of Berg, it's pretty, I went over to look at their fields just to get an idea of the synthetic turf.
Those fields?
Off of Berg, the
The girls' softball field?
softball field,
Oh, there, yeah.
and it's all locked up,
Oh,
so.
really?
Are do we want to consider the business of fees for the use of the two ball fields, not for the use of the rest of the park? I was at Wilsonville this afternoon and talked to them about this question. Wilsonville has 5 ball fields in the Memorial Park complex in Wilsonville. It's not very far away. It's 5 fields, 5 minutes or 6 minutes from here. But anyway, they're charging fees. And so when you think about maintenance, that's an ongoing responsibility, an ongoing cost for this committee and this town, et cetera. So is there?
Our committee's not going to set the cost.
No, I understand, but what do we think about the possibility of having, if maybe just baseball or maybe?
Well, Scott brought it up.
They'll have to be fees.
No, Scott brought it up. I mean, they're gonna need to charge baseball, softball. And co-ed, slow pitch.
High school will give us a perfect business plan on what to charge, because they're already doing it. So,
We'll be consistent.
yes.
So I just wanted it on the record that we are planning to use fees, after both kinds or just baseball.
No,
Both.
whoever, you're on the field, you're paying for it.
But Jeff, you have some concerns about that?
Yeah, right now, we're not set up for it. If,
It
what
can
we-
just be added to the fee schedule, couldn't it?
yeah, it's just, it has to go through some sort of, right now, we have recreational immunity to our parks if we don't charge. Once we charge, we can be held liable. We just would have to set
That's a
that up.
liability issue, right?
Yeah, we just would have to set it up through legal and get it approved.
What do you consider rec though?
Like,
Co-ed,
the only thing,
softball?
like, as soon as we get, the city can't take payment at that park, like the pickleball thing. That we're talking about,
You can't.
yeah, the only thing we got set up to take money for is White Park
Oh.
for the events and all that right now. We're just
Well,
not
we
saying we can't.
we can get to that point, maybe Canada kids can.
We're hiring a
Yeah.
recreation professional,
There you go.
we're trying to go that direction, it's just right now, we're not set up.
Right.
You know, it's,
But that's it, I mean, because other cities,
yeah, we just don't have a recreation site, other than the pool that's set up that way.
but you're worried about liability. And right now, if somebody goes out there and hits himself,
Jeff's not worried, he's just been told that this is how we're set up, right? And
Correct.
Yeah,
okay.
that's how we operate right now, under the direction of our city administrator right now, is that if we can't charge what he's talking about.
So we're talking about charging for events, but there will be others who are not in events who want to use the ball field, like groups of kids, et cetera. So I think we need to have a pretty good fix on what we're charging and for whom we are charging it, and how that can be handled without having to put a cash register at the entrance to the park.
That's the egg.
Yes.
Build the egg, right? Yeah, build the egg. Chicken, but yeah. That's a whole nother conversation that we've been working towards, I believe.
Good.
So my understanding of what you guys are talking about is once you are charging, you're essentially guaranteeing that this is a safe environment, right? So that, okay, I just wanted to
You
clarify.
probably understand that better than us in your background, but
I don't know that I do, but
Okay.
I
this
get
is what
it,
we,
what you guys are saying.
this is what we've been told.
Yeah. That, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
So we go out there and repair irrigation, and we put put it all back in turf, and I've had people climb on it before, well, in the outfield, I twisted my ankle in a little bit of a hole. You get something that settles or
Right.
like that, so then they can come back to you, if it's egregious enough, they can sue the employee individually.
And
Well, aren't you guys
Can you sue the
indemnified?
school?
what,
Yeah,
I think we're doing the right thing.
The companies, you're not supposed to be out there.
The other thing, I asked, how are we charging for Wake Park? And how are we doing this? And what they're doing is they're signing the proper papers and they're getting insurance to cover themselves for a certain.
Okay,
amount. And so,
and I think that's standard, like for like wedding venues and stuff like that, that's what they do.
right, and that's what Barry, when you were talking about doing the pickleball courts, we were just gonna follow that same process with
Yeah.
pickleball courts. So it is possible, we're just not real set up.
Right. So part of the process moving forward.
Well, and we all want our facilities to be safe. This isn't an added onus on us or a burden that we don't want to take on. We want our facilities to be
Right.
safe. So this is fine.
Right. If somebody goes up, say on a Sunday. You're having a family picnic, the ball fields aren't being used, if somebody wants to go out there and have a family softball game, can they do that?
I've seen that happen a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, just like pickleball.
So,
It's just not organized.
Right.
event.
so,
Paid for taxpayer dollars, it's the open to the public.
and I'm fine with that.
I think Canby Kids has their own insurance. I
They do.
don't have that.
Yes, so they've been doing, Scott can attest to too, that they've been doing their own maintenance on these dirt infields for as long as I've been here.
Mhm.
And so this is another duty we'd be I'm assuming, or would Candy Kids be doing?
Well, they should be taught after the game, the coaches stuff, you know, we will need to have a clinic to show how to properly done. And Steve would love, he would send some, he would send some people down to show them, and this is what, how you
Train
draw,
them.
this is what you do, and do it,
Right.
so.
Turfing, I guess, well, we can come back and maybe prioritize the type of things that we want to focus on moving forward. On my list, the next one item I had was lighting, so does anybody want to talk about lighting? Do we have any?
Field lighting or security lighting?
Well, let's go with field lighting first. Let's go with field lighting first, and I guess for the. In my opinion, I guess field lighting at $800,000. Might be a luxury, but I don't think it's anything that. I think that we can utilize that money elsewhere, for playground equipment or whatever. I think. What are we talking about? We were talking at that meeting, at the community meeting. Well, when's the ceiling? When's the shut off time gonna be for the lights? And it was like 10 o'clock. Well, in the summertime,
It's
mean,
like
your
12
lights out.
then, yeah.
almost 10 o'clock, so. We're using lights for an hour at the most, maybe. I mean, you can play well beyond that. So I don't know as if lights are a high priority to me.
But the
And
tournament,
Ryan Oliver says.
the tournaments now in April, May, and June, you'd use the lights more. And there again, that's a safety deal. The baseball field, they turn the lights on at 5 o'clock. Well, it's beautiful at 5 because they want them to be on and that they want that field lit up. By the time it gets to 7:30, they want it nice.
Then in the winter, I think young kids could use it for soccer practice, things like that. Which they can't now, but right now, MP's about the only field we have that's lit, right? So
They do a lot of
Instead
soccer.
of paying for you.
At one time, we had that field set
It's
up.
never,
for
it's, here's
soccer
my
now.
thing, it's never gonna get any cheaper. We had lights there. We got them taken out, we probably shouldn't have, but that was a safety deal. I just think they're a nice addition, and we're never gonna get them any cheaper, so,
It's nice.
you
I
know.
mean, that's definitely nice.
That gets you at least, if you're having a tournament, that gets you at least one more game per day. So instead of being done at 6, they can go to 8.
This, in the springtime.
Yeah.
In the springtime,
Yeah.
summertime,
Do we have many springtime tournaments?
They have
They,
it in springtime.
they've already started, they start in March,
Okay.
so. March and April and May are the big
I
tournaments.
hate to say it, but I agree with Scott.
Are you okay?
So I thought that the explanation of the lighting, about lighting, no, but this is not lighting like your orange glow.
No.
directional.
This lighting, drive over by the high school where the softball fields are, that lighting is so awesome, it goes straight down, you can't even see the bulb. So all you see is light going down.
Do they have lighting on the girls softball field?
Yep. All that lighting's new. The baseball is the only one that didn't get new lighting.
But they have lighting.
They have lights, yeah, but they didn't get the LED ones.
Yeah. Well, I know what they're putting in is good.
Yeah.
Directional lighting. I'm just saying, I'm just wondering,
I know.
800,000.
But next, if we talk about it 3 years from now, it's gonna be $1.5 million.
It's probably cheaper to do it now.
Right.
While they're tearing it up, otherwise we have to tear the field.
It'd be a problem to do it after. you-
Oh, man.
Yeah,
You
probably a
don't,
lot more than
If you want lights, it has to be done now.
I agree.
once the field's in, you don't do lights. anymore.
And I.
Boy, I didn't see that, I didn't see that coming.
No, let me support, 800,000 is a lot of money. What
Yeah.
percentage of the total construction cost for what we're doing with the field? What percent of that is $800,000 away?
So $748,000 gets us the bases and the lights. We have to come up with the power source that comes into it.
Yeah. And no, of the particular lights and the cost of the lighting,
The lighting is 800 grand.
so 800 grand.
Yeah,
What is the total, what percentage is that of the total cost of what we're doing with Falls?
So
It's,
this year we had, I think we,
60%. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I think what we budgeted for was 1.5 million. We just threw 500 at the turf and $1 million towards the lighting. I feel that we can come in
Okay.
With the
to
electrical costs and everything, I think.
upgrading the transformers, get,
upgrade transformers and getting the power to the source.
we have to upsize the meter base and all that stuff.
I would think the new lights would use less power than the old lights, so you might have enough power there,
We do not.
right?
We do not. When we put in the splash pad and we put in the
So,
power source, that was what I was trying to do. I was trying to get a big enough meter base in there to accommodate that. I figured when we hit this point about
when
talking
we have
about
the
like
old lights, and they'll use more power than the new lights.
Oh, yeah, they were-
LEDs don't use anything.
pressure sodium and
Yeah.
they really took a lot of energy.
Electricity hogs.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So if that meter was still there should have been plenty of power. to
That
do it.
meter was in a back room, which has been demolished, and we have a new restroom sitting on top of it.
It would be a whole separate service with transformer and.
Yeah, we had to have 480 for those old field lights. Thing about the old field lights is that it accommodated the outfields of the ball fields too, which you could do then soccer out there. I think what we're getting is lighting just for the ball fields.
I think they're gonna go clear to the walkway.
Okay, good. I was hoping so.
There was a question about.
Yeah, I think they go clear to the walkway.
That'd be
So they
great.
wouldn't be along the outfield fence at all.
Well, the walkway's right by the fence, so the lighting will go to the walkway. I mean, it'll be lit, but it won't go shine into their yards and stuff. So it'll all be lit.
I was hoping to have it as you're walking that path
Yep.
on the fence side of it, because I have no utilities in there.
Well, they asked about when they put the lighting in, if we do need to put some extra lighting in for security purposes. In those corners, would they be able to tie into those? Whatever. they're
It'd be
putting
part of
into
the
the
project. It wouldn't be connected with it, but it'd be part of it. It could be fed off the same
And
service.
he was nodding, what I remember from the public meeting, must go.
Okay, so if we do lighting, we would also do the.
We'd be addressing security.
Addressing security issues. Great.
The path light could be landscape light, which is,
Yeah.
2 foot high,
Yeah.
just eliminating the walkway.
No, I think it'd make a very nice.
And it would look
appearance.
nice and would be good, but it would be enough to discourage people from staying there because it would be visible.
Which is an
And if
important,
somebody goes and knocks out the lights or covers them, the police would say, hey, look at all the lights are out, what's going on? And they would be on 20, all year, 365 years from dusk to dawn.
Right.
Mhm.
okay, so Brave Jerry, or Brave Jeff. You said several times, this is what we gotta do. I need to ask you about. Who's that we, and have you got the staffing to do the things that we've gotta do for this whole operation to happen?
No,
So what do we get, so how's that getting built into our? Is that built into our CIP?
we requested more staffing, yes.
Okay, enough to do. Because we're worried more and more about what has to be done, that we
Well,
cannot.
some of this be contracted out.
Are we talking-
And-
So under the contract, I'm about 300 people
Are you talking about putting it in?
No,
Moving and maintaining it,
and talking, well, right now I'm asking a question about putting it in.
that's all contract.
I understand it's contracted, but we is still an expense, whether it's we contractors or we your staff, it's still an expense.
To maintain it.
Yeah.
To put it in, it's contracted out to maintain it.
So it's
It
already in
falls
the
on
budget
them.
for that reason. Thank you.
Yes,
Good. And in the future, well, never mind, we don't need to pursue that, it's, okay.
just a moment with that. Any more on lighting?
Well, we probably want to talk about safety lighting, and was that what we
What?
talked about is pathway lighting,
Yes.
landscape lighting?
It's gonna go hand in hand with.
Or if we could utilize a power source from the field lighting, where we could put it in just at each corner. And then maybe one in the middle, like on that back wall. I guess some of the concerns, I believe Jerry and I had a discussion today is. We also don't want to light it too much up for the neighbors where it's always 100%
Sure.
lit out there. I mean, if we had like at your fence there and they were pointing out. There would be just like a street light would be, would that be good, bad?
Terry, being on that fence, what's your feeling? on
That's
that?
why I'm asking.
So you're talking about the security light being on the
So if we had one in each
resident
back
side
corner,
of the walkway,
yes,
The people at that meeting were talking about the
Back
corners,
corner.
those corners are dark,
Northeast and southeast.
and
Well, it's dark all along that with all those trees and stuff. You got all of that area that's dark, so the pathway lighting would cover everything. And it wouldn't be.
well, and then if we put in lights for the fields. Are we only saying, are we gonna have those come on and turn off at 10 o'clock, whether there's a game or not?
not the security lighting, it'd be on photo cell when it's dark out, they'd be on, when it's light out, they'd be on. So I mean, we could still come down the path along the, maybe before you hit the woods there, have one back in the corner. I think there might be enough ambience where you can see if someone's on the path.
If we decide to go forward with the lights, which it sounds more probable than not. If we decide to go forward with the lights, we could work with that lighting contractor and find out, hey,
What are our options?
what are our options here?
I assume we're assuming that there doesn't need to be any supervision of events. It is those who put on the events that need to supervise the behavior of those who are there and the action about what happens.
Yeah.
Well, the lights could be on a timer, like where they could go off at 9:30.
That's what, yeah, like the pickleball.
I think he talked about, they started this dimming phase
Yeah.
too,
I mean, they're completely off by 10.
yeah.
Did you hear the question at the meeting about the woman who asked about, what about the guys that hang around after the thing,
Yeah,
with or without the beer?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lighting anymore? Comments, questions?
Is alcohol
Discussion?
permitted on?
no,
So Barbara,
Hmm,
stop going down there. will
I
you?
know, it's just really hard. to do it.
Parking or the traffic issues, discussion on parking. Parking's been an issue for quite some time, I think, but again, that's just me, so.
Has there been any estimation of what kind of parking we're gonna need for a successful situation, particularly on event times?
We did talk about that we could open up that field
Yes,
on a limited overflow.
Which we're talking about.
Marshall property to be.
To the north.
So would that cost?
When we talk, because.
You know, drive up and just drive.
Just on the ground.
But we talked about that years ago, you and I. If we did that right, if we made a formal parking lot there, we're talking what, maybe 25 cars tops. You're still gonna be parking out on the street. There's
Well,
just not enough parking there.
people will park on the street just for convenience.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah.
So the splash pad we talked about, just extending the parking lot
Yeah.
across the Marshall property, so we didn't take up the entire thing.
Right,
But that's about all you could do.
But for money wise, we could just put a chain across it and just open it up for overflow, let them park out there in the summertime and close it and be done with it.
They park all over the lawn at the pool now during swim meets. Or lacrosse out at the Ackerman and park all under all those trees there.
It is what it is.
I think that's a good option. And then in the future, if we.
Someday we'll have to make it,
Yeah, if
but
we want to
let's just
put it into the budget in the future.
make it flow and be done.
Is it at the same level that Marshall, is there,
Are people gonna bottom out?
are you gonna have to,
Issues.
So you've got to export a whole bunch of dirt from your.
Or you bring them in off of Maple on that driveway that's established on those properties already.
Yeah, we put a driveway approach in for that reason, off Maple. There's a, yeah, and a water service and power, and everything's stubbed out of there, but. I mean, they need to export a whole bunch of dirt too. So if you wanted to level it, and reseed it.
when they do this,
The turkey.
if they do the field turf?
If they turf the fields, they said
You'll have
they
dirt.
needed a dump site. I don't know if that's something if you want to level it, Jeff.
That'd be from house to parking lot. It's a lot of debris, a lot of dirt.
Probably, yeah, I don't know, I mean, I would guess if you're putting field turf in and you're pulling that down, how deep did that go?
That's like 2 feet.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's better than us hauling it in.
Right.
It'd be good material.
Is that pretty good dirt over there?
No,
Really?
it'd be great for under a parking lot.
Mhm.
Now, they brought in, years ago, they had a system called cushion turf, so it's a very hard in the turfed outfields.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I just live on 20th, man.
Oh, no, we have great dirt around there.
Okay. So what they're pulling out. But you didn't find a rock,
You can't, no,
it's just sand.
same here.
Beautiful.
Parking, going on, but.
I would like to see Maple done the same as North Birch between Territorial and Pine to slow down the people. It's a freeway, but
Bumps?
the speed bumps that they have between Territorial and Canton on North Birch, do the same thing on Maple. Because they go too fast down there.
I hate those songs.
I hate it too, but I slow you down.
Well, that's what, you know, what, here, and
I
Here
hear
we
you
get-
get.
we hire a new cop every 6 months. Why don't they go patrol that for a week and up? You know how that'll cool down that quick? I know.
The problem we have with the bumps is, first of all, we don't have a funding source. Second problem is fire hates them because they slow up the ambulance. And the third problem is our last city administrator said that we'd never build them again, but I guess he's gone, so we could ask the new city administrator. But it went through traffic safety and they worked years on getting those in on Birch, years. And then we couldn't put them in front of anyone's house that didn't want us, so those ones on Birch were, we had to get written permission. They're loud. Bob Baxter, yep.
Favorite thing is, if you put more stop signs on,
I have,
Well, there could be other steps, yeah.
you put stop signs on Maple,
Stop at the parks.
and each of the car things now with stop
I
signs.
hate meetings.
Yeah, and that's, yeah,
point for a personal observation. I live on the west side of Saratoga. And when I bought my house, well, at the time the pumps were being considered, the average number of cars was 3,000 a day on that section. After the humps went in, it was 800 a day. They made a huge difference and it's still lighter
Well,
than it would have been without.
and the guy that wanted the humps, once they went in. he put-
Yeah.
Yeah,
the problem,
well, he insisted on 5, the last 3 are ridiculous.
They're by my, yeah. They're by my house, I gotta go.
But they,
I just have a question. Is there a traffic safety committee?
yes, and that's what I was gonna bring up, there's a meeting tomorrow.
Oh,
I
excellent.
think it should go to them and there's different traffic calming measures. I don't think that's our decision.
Yeah, thanks, Terry, I was gonna bring that up, we could bring that to him, but I believe we did a traffic study on this just recently
yes, my request, so,
in front of, on Maple Street.
oh,
And
no,
no, we did yours, and Barbara's on, she goes to all the meetings, and
no, I go to 1 meeting, 2 meetings.
oh, you, seems like you've been to quite a few, but I could bring this up, and we have a thing we set up that no one can see that counts traffic, speed, how many cars go through there and all that, and what we always find before we go in, enter into speed bumps and all that, we make sure there's a problem. Most of the time, there isn't even a. speed
Doesn't
bump.
one of the guys that's on the traffic safety committee, isn't he live on Maple Street?
Yeah, and there's not a speeding problem on Maple. It's when you guys read through it's 200 cars and like, if a car does 25 miles an hour down Maple,
Seems fast.
it seems like it's doing 40 because it's a narrower street. But we could, if you want to bring that to the traffic safety committee, I think Terry's right on. We
I
need
think
it.
that's a good idea.
And I can bring it up tomorrow. Just tell me what you guys want me to bring up and who it's from and if it's from the advisory committee, perfect.
Sure.
Can it be assessed during the
What is
summer?
it that's
Do
gonna?
you want to come and speak, Barry?
No. You know, Dave, I mean, the one thing, when you, in the summertime, I've been down there when there's a softball tournament and they're parked on both sides of the road. And you can only get one car, it's one lane traffic. It's one-way traffic.
They say that's great traffic calm.
Well, yeah, when I'm going this way and the other guy's trying to come this way, it's
Yeah.
And you go slow.
like. well, you
That's what they say.
Fall into somebody's driveway.
It's people like you that are on that road, they shouldn't be on that road, there's a tournament going on, stay on the other side of it.
Fine.
Stay on the other side of the town.
On the other side of the town, should have been there watching my grandson play.
I,
All right, moving on.
so do I need to bring anything up on?
You can't if you don't, if you don't. want to.
I know, I've read this, I can bring this.
If that's what the review, but if we need to do something and make it safer so people aren't speeding,
Signs, whatever.
whether it's stop signs or thumps or just
Brought up under public
posting.
You wanna see speed? Everybody know where I live?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Come to Sassy's racetrack at night.
yeah.
I'll tell you, that speed, we're on the right across from Old Village.
You're out in the country.
I know
Well, what do you expect them to do?
You
Right,
know,
one minute.
I'm gonna get my hands.
All right, moving
it.
on,
Okay.
playgrounds.
Hey,
Okay,
We should
Terry.
redo them.
They need to be redone.
Yep, I need it.
They need to be, Jeff's wanted to redo playgrounds for a while,
How much would that do us?
Well, they told me that there's no reason to make any changes.
for 2 years.
So.
Gave up on the truck.
Go
I
ahead.
have to look at my numbers, what it was originally when we first started, I said it'd be 6 to 8, and I think we're gonna be a little bit.
Is that for both of them or for one?
But you need the other end also.
Yeah,
So much action.
I guess my feeling is Maple Park is gonna be the crown jewel of our parks.
Yeah.
It's a big feeling about the lights. I think we should put lights in, I think we should have. another playground.
Done.
Let's do it.
Let's make it all as good as we can.
Sold tax.
I think that's why we put in like 2.6 million. for all total projects.
Right,
Virgin,
over
never got.
2 years.
So traffic safety's on this.
Over 2 years, yeah.
I don't know if we can accomplish it all in a year.
No. Well, then when we prioritize, we gotta, what do we want to look at first and what would we look at second or the second phase?
That's good.
Terry, you were over there going like this. What playgrounds? What do you have to say on playgrounds?
I'm just excited to see them updated and they're heavily used and
23 years old.
they're, yes. My kids, well, our kids played on them when they were little. So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Well,
time.
they're not compliant now either.
Um,
Well,
Not
not
as ADA compliant as they could be. We didn't have a lot of these rules in place back when we put them in. I mean, we met everything back then, but.
But going
There's your-
forward, they're gonna have to be ADA compliant.
Right, once you start to remodel something, you got criteria, you gotta stick by it.
Yeah.
The vendors are real good about applying at least 55% of a playground that you can purchase, like a turnkey one, are gonna already meet that criteria. And we could always do over and above. So,
Are you looking at something like they did? I know all the schools, elementary schools redid their playgrounds. Something along those lines.
yeah, I don't know what vendor they used, what they like to do. Yeah, I think they replaced those and they were half as old as ours,
No, that's right.
so.
You had a diagram that you were looking at.
I have 3 different options for us to pick from when we get to that point. This is just,
I think it's
just me asking
I think they're over there, if Dave wants to look at them.
Oh. Yeah, I just kind of, I think Ryan Oliver cued me into it one day. He's like, why are we always settling for middle or low end stuff, you know? And I was like, well, you want high end?
I got it.
I got you one, and then I started backing it down from there, just so you could see, what, you know, what the options are. And I didn't know what our budgets were when it was.
So to be basically equivalent to legacy though, with texture.
Yes, I was, that's gonna be, I did bump up the price because I feel that, safety, ADA accessibility, that is something I want to push for, is that forward in place surfacing. So
So the partnerships will go away.
the partnerships will go away. Yeah, which will save us some labor too, annually and weekly. I mean, the guys are out there.
Yeah.
We don't allow pulls. We try to treat it like it's our problem if someone was to get hurt, so 2-3 times a week, they're at least scraped back under the high use areas.
You do a great job.
Thank you. My guys too.
So I don't understand, it says fencing around 2 to 5 year old area, 5-minute shower, do you mind brushing your teeth? So I go to bed, wait, what?
That's one of the,
I have an assessment on that. I think she was dictating to her.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, okay, I just wanted to know if you're having some brush your teeth issues out in the park.
Brush the teeth.
Well, I knew that, so I didn't, that's why I was.
I can see the mom, you need a 5-minute shower, you mind brushing your teeth so I can go to bed after? You know, and then she gets right, because if you go back to the area where the dash is at.
Yeah.
It reads perfectly together with area can cause issues with safety. I mean, it just.
Right, okay, I read it about 16 times and I could only come up with somebody was dictating, that's the only thing.
The staff, I let them read this and they're like, what are you guys? talking
All right,
Any cuss words or?
No. Okay. Stinking kids. My husband always says, you had to have kids.
Do you? People, what's everybody's feeling on the fence around the playground?
No,
no offense.
no. Thank you. Take care of your kids.
Well, it's the distance from the small area to the street is 3 or 4 times bigger than it is at Legacy.
Right. Yeah, I didn't feel that we needed a small fence. Any other comments on playground?
Well,
fencing?
when it comes time to make the choice, could we consider opening it up to having a neighborhood selection committee? Look at the options and.
For the
make
playground?
decisions? Mhm.
Probably, because we should have had that for maybe the splash pad, but.
We tried. We tried.
So we did that at Northwoods Park. What we ended up with was like 3 or 4 different vendors with the products. I really do not want to go down that road.
Well, you would.
What were the vendors besides sure?
Okay, yeah, no, that's why I say, yeah, I did options. Like I have 3 options right now.
So if
That should
you,
be fine.
you don't have to show them the 3 vendors, you just show them 3 options and let them.
No, this 3 options are from one vendor.
One vendor, yeah.
And because all of our system out there is this vendor, and when it comes to parts and maintenance and that, it's way easier for us to have all the right tools than for one.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
you're gonna use one vendor, but you're gonna have 3.
I can even get more options than 3. It'd be like standardizing garbage cans and benches. We've already started that process.
Pick your best. You remember what Ryan Allen said?
I got one, it's pretty space age looking, but might be cool.
Give them the best.
We did the same procedure we used for the splash pad. Yeah, that voting at the library.
Right.
So
What options do you want to see?
you give them 3 options, and you say, you let everybody vote.
We can do that.
Well, another community engagement meeting for those that want to come, instead of, just walking through the library. I don't know.
Just saying.
You're only gonna have three options, there's no reason to have a fee.
I don't know,
Other
we could do
engagement.
door hangers, where it could be online and they could go online, to say, vote for your favorite or your preferred design. And they could go in and do like a Survey Monkey or something.
That'd be super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. And yeah, that's what it seemed like. It doesn't take very long to do those. door hangers.
Well, then again, it doesn't have to be just the neighbors because the whole community is gonna be doing that, so it might need to be. We could get Jamie maybe to put them on the city website,
Sure, and other people could,
Sure,
but
if you
at least
put it
we're
on
focusing.
Friends of Candy Parks.
Which is over 500 now.
Oh,
Girl now.
I know. Great. Well, so I'm just gonna throw this out there and I'm not invested in the idea, but I just, when we went to Arizona and we saw that park that had this really cool item and that really cool item and this really cool item. I appreciate that you've put together 3 tiered plans. But what about an à la carte type of option where people could say, I would love to see this thing and this thing and this thing in whatever the final plan is?
So what it comes down to with that is there's this thing called use zones around each piece of equipment. And like on the north end, we have a curb, which I really hate to disturb because that's quite a cost. It's actually a pretty good size area. So the vendor, he put together what would fit in these areas and make us legal as far as people running between, moving stuff. It's just
Okay.
the south end, we only have a small footprint of a curved area, so that could come out, but I would still want to put in a curved area around whatever it is we decide. We got a little more flexibility down on the south end,
Mhm.
and the areas are actually quite big on the north end, so. But it's your space, you need to
Right.
utilize, get as much in as you can without too much overlap with the use zones, so.
It could maybe be just even a couple, 3 really cool elements that, where we could sort of, when we plan it, know that they would all fit. But then in addition, they'll have the regular stuff, but if
Yeah.
there was something like kind of really cool that maybe.
Do we want to consider switching the older area and the younger area, but the younger area next to the splash pad?
I suppose we could do that. It'd be a bigger, younger area. I think we got too many older kids directly in that
Yes.
area, watching their brothers and sisters play softball. I've noticed they're more of the 12 to 14, 5 to 12, yeah, they're more of the 5 to 12 age group on that end.
With the softball,
Where the
that's what I
mother,
mean, let's put the young kids over there.
By the softball field.
Yeah.
But that's what we're saying, you've got bigger kids, and then you got this little group of little kids, where over there, it's a little more quiet. Less
Yeah.
traffic over there.
it's an intentional, just to keep the, away from the younger kids, as far as when there are events going on there. I don't know, I mean, we could explore, I know one of the neighbors did say that he'd like to see them closer together. That's also something you're supposed to keep a degree of separation on, and I don't know where I would put them other than. I really don't want to bring them close, the younger one closer to the ball fields and
that's, that's another.
Another option would be the Marshall property behind where your parking is.
yeah,
For the younger kids.
They've got more foul balls that are down there now. That's a high ball area, because we tried to get them that fencing, so if there are foul balls, and they're gonna be down in that Marshall property.
That's another, placement of those playground, we need playgrounds, so.
Yeah.
We can discuss where to put them,
Just decide whether it's.
Right.
and when we get to that, I can bring the vendor in too, and he can probably bring us here's what's cool and new, and I think I showed you one ADA thing that I thought was really cool, where someone could wheel a wheelchair into this like little kind of a gazebo looking thing, and they get in there and spin themselves, so. And they got some great swings right now where it's dual use between the parent and maybe the.
You've seen them.
That's what we saw
The
down in
needs.
Arizona. That was one of the things that I said, you know, we've just gotta have this. It's just so cool.
So like one of those, the use zone is incredibly huge on something like that.
Yeah, I bet. I was thinking that when you were talking about the space.
So just to keep in mind, we have other options in other parks too, where we could totally develop more of a ADA theme, but like at Wake Park, if we ever started to redesign those playgrounds, we could maybe take them from sidewalk to sidewalk and have all that cool stuff where they hook
Yeah.
together between,
Yeah,
so.
it just feels like something that you should be able to find somewhere in the city, as many parks as we have and as invested in parks as we are. I mean, it was such a unique thing and it was so cool because the baby was having a great time and I was
Yeah.
having a great time. We were swinging together. It was great. I've never seen anything like it. Usually you're trying, you know, you're scrambling and who's where and, no.
Okay, well, we know we need to work on a playground. And it would be good to have trip vendors.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I can ask him.
Yeah.
I think the city would pay for that, right?
Maybe
We
you
don't
can,
know that.
maybe he can hire a vendor to bring our son to us.
Yes.
You know, our pool is full.
I know.
All right, let's move on to any discussion in regards to the walking path. I think at one time, did you want to resurface that or just
I
a
need to-
portion of that?
I need to redo portions of it minimal. I mean, as long as you're going up to the restroom where the roots from another tree are tearing it up. We have a walking path from the restroom down towards the small play area, which is more of a footpath, but same thing, the trees have all tore that up, so we need to re-pour that. It needs to be a 4-foot radius, Jerry.
4 foot minimum.
I was gonna say, cause it's narrower than that, isn't it?
It is,
It needs-
well,
yeah.
I mean, it's just deteriorated since we
Yeah.
put that in and, oh, whatever.
Right,
And then there's an area from field 1 walking towards Noble Court where it's quite narrow too. And I would like to widen that one up to make it more of a, kind of like the width we have all the way around there.
Mhm.
So I'd like to take some of that Marshall property and probably go out a little and have that path
yeah,
coming in that direction.
Along the outfield fence, is that 4 foot? I mean,
Oh, it's like 11,
oh, well,
yeah.
close one, very well.
You still have to fix the Noble and Oak Street entrances.
Correct. I've got a guy scheduled to come give me a quote for putting a gate in there. And then he got sick and blew me off, so I gotta call him.
It's hard to get in. That's tough right now.
Okay, so you have a plan for redoing walking trail.
I do have a plan.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on walking trail?
I mean, I just wanna make just say,
Part of, including part of that, the ADA connection.
The ADA connection.
yeah,
I think the planning commission is gonna make us do any of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and sports court. We have 2 basketball courts that are there right now. Anybody, anything on, I mean, number one, you want to resurface, well, both. You want to resurface both, do you want to make one into a tennis court, one into a basketball court?
that's what my hope was.
Okay. Opinions, is enough room there for a tennis court? Mark says yes. Yeah.
Tennis court
Yes, please.
with basketball court.
I just never see anybody play tennis. I mean, I'm not against it, I just never see anybody play.
Pickleball kind of
You ever
thing.
see anybody play roller creek?
yeah, actually, we do.
It's a pickleball now.
I know, there's a family whose daughter is on tennis team.
Oh, okay.
And not only does she and her brother and sister come and play, but they bring mobs. of
Cause that's the
friends.
best sport in town.
Yeah, oh, you think? Like for tennis?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah, it's the only.
yeah, well,
High
yeah, they are, they're for the last few years.
school.
We-
Yeah.
we-
All right,
There is room there now.
The way I measured it out, what I looked on, it's the same dimensions as the, whatever size that basketball court is. So my hope was to pull asphalt across both of those and make the farthest back one a tennis court with netting. And then just have a basketball court be on the one closest to the restroom.
A full court or half court?
Half court, I guess you go, well, whatever it is now, I don't think
Well,
it's
it's full court now.
full court,
Well,
but that like, I don't think it's
It's
regulation.
not regulation full court, but
Right.
it's,
It's too much.
Half what you feet is, favorite piece half court. This one's there. There are two halves.
Two halves.
I don't. I don't know why we would even need two baskets. You see a lot of guys just playing after if you do it really nice and with a 3-point stripe around it and a good basket. You know, you just play half court, take back.
Yeah, but sometimes you get a couple groups of kids out there, you know, and one, they'll be using.
One side, one do the other.
Yeah, they're like maybe.
Two games going.
It looks like it's nicer confined if there's 2 buckets.
Tennis and basketball sounds like that's the way we want to go in resurfacing those courts. All right, now. We've discussed most all. What is the top priority, your top items that you would tackle for? We have what, 1.5 million in the budget for 23-24.
Yeah, and I want to add with that, and Lisa has the CIP sitting right there, can I look at it, very what we got in there, that's what's going in. And the other thing is, we do have a time frame on the turf.
Maybe how long it takes to get it or?
Like, we have to stay moving, the process
gotta move.
moving to hit August,
Yep,
when? Because it's
So are we saying maybe turf and lighting this fiscal year and then the remainder of the projects in 24-25,
it would start in August, it'd be the next budget cycle,
like 23-24?
23-24, yeah, and then maybe some. The rest of the other things you're talking in the following, maybe.
Mhm.
Will the council vote for it? I know this whole thing is just died because they won't make any decisions.
I think that if you guys have a clear recommendation from this body, I think absolutely they would support what you guys.
Maple Street.
And we really ought to make a point of urging some stuff like that.
1.
Yeah, I mean, it's-
3-24 and 1 million for 24.
So,
What-
what did we say we wanted for the turf and lighting total again? 1.5, so pretty
yeah.
much it's gonna take all that up. We wouldn't be able to do like even walking paths.
There's 100,000 though in there of that
Right now.
for this year right now, so I mean,
We could lump that over, so we can maybe at least like improve the walking paths and do the outdoor lighting.
anything over,
Halfway.
yeah, like anything over 50, we gotta take to council. So we gotta get on the agenda and get to the 2 readings and a 30-day waiting period, so we'd wanna act fast on that, Lisa, if we did have some.
Mhm.
I mean, we're getting down, we're in April, we're getting down to the wire to get done before July.
So basically, we're looking for 24-25
I think-
playground and sports court.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Playground. To resurface those courts. I mean, what do you think would be less? Resurfacing those courts or doing the walkway?
What, depends on what you're doing. Are you gonna do, like, if we're gonna do a full-fledged tennis court, like
That's
that's
gonna
gonna
be
block,
because
that's
you
gonna be
got fencing
expensive.
and stuff.
But if you're just repaving it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's reasonable.
Let's go with, I think, it sounds, what would be feasible if we've got 100,000 for 22-23 and 1.5 for 23-24. I would shoot for the turf and lighting and maybe the walking path, making any improvements that you can do with the walk. You might be able to do that within the 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of paving for $100,000.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we might be able to make our improvements there and then go forward with the turfing and the lighting.
Mhm. And then
And
playground.
then the play and,
She would do chirping and lighting
Sports.
first before we cut across all of it, and
Yeah,
that's
I
my
mean,
construction thought.
Yeah, paving last after the fields are done.
right, yeah, I'm not saying we gotta do it right now, but I mean.
Within this fiscal year before June of 24.
yes, yep,
That's okay.
exactly, yep. Sorry, I.
And I thought he was thinking like within the next month or so.
No, by June 24.
Yeah, get all that.
And then you've got $1 million for 24, 25, where you could do the playgrounds and sports court.
We probably could get that done almost.
I don't know, I mean, we have cyclone fencing needs to go up, and it'd be like taking.
We talked about the tennis courts,
Tennis
yeah,
court.
it's gonna be just, it's gonna be no different than building a pickleball court.
Except it's
So
like
you
a
only have
quarter of
one
it.
court.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be cheap.
When they strike that for, I was gonna say when they strike that for tennis, you know how they strike them now, they strike them for pickleball also.
Well, I don't know, I would like to give the tennis people, the
There you go.
community, just a
Yeah.
tennis thing. But I was hoping was to get a, I guess I learned something when we did South Locust redo of the basketball court up there. You know, we were talking rubberized
Oh, yeah.
surfaces and that it was like 70 grand. We went with your idea of the asphalt.
Yeah,
It
use
was
it,
like 12 grand. I mean, if we got a fine enough one, why couldn't we just put some sort of slurry seal over asphalt and make the tennis court based on asphalt?
yeah, yeah, you use that soft binder, that 5828, give that thing, it'll never crack, nothing, you're not driving on it.
That's what you
Cheap.
guys, that's why we lean on you guys.
I love 5828, whatever that is.
It's good stuff. If you, and
David's got that in his back.
if you do a good, like, sealer with the aggregate like we use in our parking lot out here, that thing lasts forever. And it'd be good to play on. You get some good road rash too, right? Isn't that what we're on?
Oh, you play well, it's playing Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why you have to be.
Oh.
Sure.
Did, I mean,
Did you do your priority?
Well, we did.
we just did, our priorities are turf and lighting and walking path for the 23-24 budget period. And then the playground and sports court, including a basketball court and a tennis court in 24-25.
Can I get a motion to approve what, Mark? Motion, second, anybody second? Terry? Forget you. Terry, second. Mark it first.
Yep.
Terry, a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, Margaret, did you aye? We've got 8-0.
He's 5-9.
No, Ryan. Ryan Ellis is not here. It's, although Ryan will already talk, that makes that. So, motion to adjourn. Scott, you want a motion
Make
to
a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
John, second by Mark. All in favor?
I.
Brought it some.
See everybody later.